Welcome to this month's edition of the Hollywood Trivia Closet, featuring celebrities and their first jobs, Part 2. It's well known that Loretta Young had an uncredited role as an Arab child in Rudolph Valentino's silent film The Sheik in 1921. By that time, she had already appeared in 4 other silents. In her second film at the age of 4, she received billing as Gretchen Young, her birth name, in Sirens of the Sea in 1917. Signed to a contract by the husband of actress Colleen Moore in 1927 for Naughty But Nice for John McCormack Productions, she wasn't billed as Loretta Young until 1928, when she played the role of the girl in The Whip Woman. It was Colleen Moore who gave Young the name Loretta, after one of Moore's favorite dolls. Loretta's 2 sisters at a very young age also went into film, but success in this case was tinged with sadness, as perhaps no Hollywood stardust would have settled on Loretta if her parents hadn't separated and her mother moved her and her sisters to Hollywood. As we all know, Loretta went on to superstardom in film and television after that. Gary Cooper, born as Frank, worked on his family's cattle ranch and was a full-time cowboy by the time he was 17. Talk about gaining experience for a future job. But before knocking on Hollywood's door, while in high school, Coop was encouraged to get into dramatics by a teacher, then took a left turn in 1922 when he enrolled in college to further art studies. During vacation months in 1922 and 1923, he worked as a tour guide, also driving the Renault open-top school bus in Yellowstone National Park. By 1924, he left college and eventually returned to Helena to sell editorial cartoons to the local newspaper, The Independent. When his father moved the family to Los Angeles, Gary found short-term work as a door-to-door salesman for a photographer, and then he tried his hand at selling ad space on theater curtains. When he did finally go knocking in Hollywood, the answer was to start his acting career as an extra and stunt rider. His first confirmed role was as an uncredited crowd extra in Dick Turpin in 1925. The same year, he appeared uncredited as a masked Cossack in the Rudolph Valentino silent The Eagle. Yup, that's right, look for the tallest Cossack. Soon working his way up in screen time and receiving over 1,000 fan letters a week, he began playing roles in many important silent films like Lilac Time with Colleen Moore in 1928, which actually did have synchronized music and sound effects. He made his breakthrough as a major star when his first talkie, The Virginian, was released in 1929. As a young child, Marlena Dietrich studied the violin and as a teenager became interested in theater and poetry. She once dreamed of being a concert violinist, but an injury to her wrist resigned her to a first job in 1922 as a pit orchestra fiddler, accompanying silent films in a Berlin cinema. She was fired 4 weeks later. Her earliest professional Berlin stage appearances were as a chorus girl on tour with Guido Thielcher's vaudeville-style girl cabaret and in Rudolph Nelson revues. Later in 1922, she didn't pass an audition to become a serious actress for theatrical director and impresario Max Reinhardt's Drama Academy, but was offered work in his theaters as a chorus girl and playing small roles in dramas. Hard work led to her film debut, a bit part in The Little Napoleon in 1923. She met future husband Rudolf Sieber on set of another film made that year, The Tragedy of Love, and they married in a Berlin civil ceremony on May 17, 1923. Her only child, Maria Elizabeth Sieber, was born in December 1924. Dietrich continued to work on stage and film in Berlin and also Vienna, and by the late 1920s, she was playing more sizable parts in feature films like Café Electric in 1927. 1930 brought Marlena her breakthrough starring role in The Blue Angel. With its international success, and prompted by director Josef von Sternberg, who was already established in Hollywood, she arrived in the United States securely under contract to Paramount Pictures. A star was born. The studio knew that Dietrich was the perfect Germanic answer to Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's exotic Swedish star, Greta Garbo. Olivia de Havilland early on learned to appreciate the arts. Ballet lessons at age 4, piano lessons at 5. She could read before the age of 6, and her drama music elocution mother also had Olivia reciting Shakespeare to perfect her diction. While participating in school plays and the drama club, Olivia planned to be an English and speech teacher, and so she attended Notre Dame Convent. In 1933, Olivia made her amateur theater debut in Alice in Wonderland, but her stepfather unfortunately didn't approve of her acting and forbade her from continuing. After finding out that she would play the lead of Elizabeth in a school fundraiser production of Pride and Prejudice, he gave her an ultimatum. either quit acting or leave home. Olivia chose her future, leaving home forever and moving in with a friend of the family. After high school, her life was continually full of choices. She was offered a scholarship to Mills College in Oakland to further her education to become an English teacher. The role of Puck also came up for her in the Saratoga Community Theater production of Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. As fate would have it, Austrian director Max Reinhardt was in California to stage a major production of the play to premiere at the Hollywood Bowl. One of Reinhardt's assistants happened to see Olivia performing with the Saratoga Company, and he offered her the position of second understudy of the Hermia role. Olivia accepted. Then, 1 week before the Reinhardt premiere, understudy Jean Rouverol and lead actress Gloria Stewart left, with only de Havilland available to play Hermia. Impressed with her performance at the premiere, Reinhardt offered her the part in the upcoming 4-week autumn tour. During that run, Reinhardt was confirmed to direct the Warner Brothers film version of a stage play, and he then offered Olivia the Hermia role in the film. She hesitated, still tempted by a teaching career, but did go on to sign a 5-year contract with Warner Brothers in late 1934 at $200 a week. Soon after, this Errol Flynn fellow would rise to superstardom with her in their numerous films together, the first being Captain Blood in 1935. Olivia's most famous film role, of course, will likely always be considered to be Melanie in Gone with the Wind in 1939. Cary Grant, born with the lovable name Archibald Leach, was taught song and dance at age 4 by his mother, who also felt piano lessons were in order. He and his mother also enjoyed going to the cinema, where he discovered Chaplin and other pre-talkie film greats. But by age 6, feeling neglected by both parents, Archie found friendship and a sense of family with a group of acrobatic dancers known as the Bob Pender Stage Troupe. He learned to stilt walk and was also thrown around like a prop by the acrobats during acts in their shows. Some sources state that in March 1911, Archie accompanied the troupe to New York, performed a few weeks there, and soon toured the U.S. After a few months, the show lost money and appeal, and he returned to England in September. For a number of years while back in school, he attended comedy shows on Saturdays in London. In January 1914, his father took him to see Fanny Bryce in the revue Hello Ragtime at the Prince's Theatre. In 1918, he apparently rejoined Pender's troupe to now dance, perform as a juggler, and be an acrobat as well, and he also acted in pantomime. In the biography Cary Grant, Dark Angel by Geoffrey Wansell, he recalled, "I grew to appreciate the fine art of pantomime. No dialogue was used in our act, and each day on a bare stage we learned not only dancing, tumbling, and stilt walking, but also how to convey a mood or a meaning without words. He learned to approach comedy as art, and that every audience was different." In another bio, Cary Grant, A Class Apart, London, Fourth Estate by Graham McCann, he stated, "Doing stand-up comedy is extremely difficult. Your timing has to change from show to show and from town to town. We used to do matinees, supper shows, and the late shows. The responses would change from night to night and from town to town. People in Wilkes-Barre and folks in Wilmington didn't laugh at the same things." Archie then worked for a time in 1922 in vaudeville, and by the summer had also formed his own group, the Walking Stanleys, with several former members of the Pender troupe. Then, after meeting the owner of Coney Island's Steeplechase Park racecourse at a party, he was hired to be colorfully outfitted and wear a sandwich board to advertise the racetrack. He enjoyed watching the Marx Brothers perform there, billed then as the greatest comedy act in show business, barring none. Zeppo Marx became an early role model for him. In 1923, the Walking Stanleys toured the U.S. with another tour of the Midwest in 1924, and also in Canada. By 1925, the exhausted group split up, and he returned to New York. Archie resided and performed then at the National Vaudeville Artists Club on West 46th Street, juggling, doing acrobats and comic sketches, and for a while he became a unicycle rider known as Rubber Legs. His comedic talent and timing improved, and he became aware of the importance of teamwork, skills all preparing him for Hollywood stardom. About these other aspects of timing as a performer, he once said, "I learned to time laughs, when to talk into an audience's laughter, when not to wait for a laugh. In all sorts of theaters, of all sizes, playing to all sorts of people, timing laughs that changed at every single performance." A first big acting role on stage, as an Australian, came along in 1927 in Hammerstein's musical Golden Dawn. The show lasted 184 performances, with reviews referring to him as a pleasant new juvenile and competent young newcomer. In 1928, he joined the William Morris Agency, and after one failed play, Hammerstein's arch-rival Florence Ziegfeld made an attempt to buy out Archie's contract, but Hammerstein sold Archie's contract instead to the Schubert brothers. This is when things get really interesting. J. Schubert cast him in a small role as a Spaniard opposite Jeanette MacDonald in the French risque comedy production of Boom Boom at the Casino Theatre on Broadway, which premiered January 28, 1929. Co-star MacDonald later admitted that Archie was absolutely terrible in the role, but had the ability to charm an audience, which ultimately saved the show. Through the 72 shows in New York, Archie earned an amazing $350 a week. Boom Boom's newfound success attracted screen tests for him and MacDonald by Paramount Public Pictures at New York's Astoria Studios, resulting in MacDonald starting her career in film, being cast opposite Maurice Chevalier in The Love Parade in 1929. Sadly, it was not yet Archie's time. He was flat out rejected, basically because of his physical appearance. A too thick neck and bow legs. Kind of unbelievable, isn't it? Maybe those who had the power with the magic wand to declare someone an actor on that occasion should have blinked twice and opened their eyes to the talent and handsome appeal of star material Archie standing before them. He continued on the stage until February 1930, when he was fired by the Schuberts after he refused to accept a pay cut along with the rest of the company during the Depression. He fortunately soon found work again as a romantic lead soldier named Cary Lockwood in post-World War I France in the musical Nicky, co-starring actress Fay Wray. The production premiered in September 1931 in New York, but folded after 39 performances due to the Depression. But all was not as it seemed or all lost. Archie had been praised in the soldier role by Ed Sullivan of the New York Daily News, who noted that the young lad from England would have a big future in the movies. It was Sullivan's timely review that clinched a new screen test at Paramount Publix for Archie. Archie soon met with Jesse Lasky and B.P. Schulberg of Paramount Pictures, and a successful screen test for him was directed by Marion Gehring, whom Archie later worked with in Devil in the Deep and Madame Butterfly in 1932. He signed a 5-year contract starting at $450 a week. Still known as Archie at that time, Schulberg suggested a name change to something that sounded more all-American, like Gary Cooper. While having dinner with Fay Wray one evening, she suggested to Archie to choose Cary Lockwood, the name of his character in their play Nicky. Schulberg approved of Cary, giving the newly named Cary a list of possible surnames compiled by Paramount's publicity department. He chose Grant, which Schulberg liked. And so, Archibald Leach made his official debut as Cary Grant in This Is the Night, 1932, as an Olympic javelin thrower opposite Thelma Todd as his wife and Lily Demita as his love interest. Another early highlight, he played a wealthy playboy opposite Marlena Dietrich and Josef von Sternberg's Blonde Venus. He would make 11 other films from 1932 to 1933. One especially elevated him toward true star status, 1933's She Done Him Wrong, for which Mae West had specifically requested Cary play the male lead. West would later go on to claim that she had discovered him. A huge box office success, She Done Him Wrong also featured Mae's signature line, "Why don't you come up sometime and see me?" Grant was quickly signed to Mae's next film, also in 1933, I'm No Angel, and he was given a pay raise to $750 a week. The second film, even more successful than She Done Him Wrong, saved the studio from bankruptcy. For handsome, versatile Grant now, the starry sky was the limit. And on that note of well-deserved success, I'll see you then, next month, with First Celebrity Jobs Part 3 in the Hollywood Trivia Closet segment.